ADHD Babes, the podcast, a podcast hosted by the ADHD Babes community for the community. Please note, nothing mentioned during the podcast is meant as a diagnosis. If you believe you have ADHD, please seek professional advice and visit or join ADHDbabes.com for help with diagnosis. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. And now, you're listening to the next episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. Thank you for everyone that's joined us so far. Don't forget to follow, share, like our podcast so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is hosted by myself, Gladys, and we have ChiChi, Julez, and Niquelle. So thanks for joining us. And on this episode, we're going to be discussing starting the year as an ADHD person. But before we get started, if everyone would like to introduce themselves, I'll go first. I'm Gladys.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julez.
Hi, everyone. I'm ChiChi. My pronouns are she, they, her, ella. And I am a keynote speaker, opera singer, and I help neurodivergent people fully embrace themselves. And yeah, that's what I do.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Niquelle Latouche. Pronouns she, her, but I prefer to use Niquelle. I'm an artist, an educator, and a producer. In East London.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I'm she. I missed that bit. But yes, today we are talking about starting the new year as an ADHD person, which can be tough for some. Every year starts with the same promises, new plans, color-coded systems. This year, I'm finally going to do this, that, or the other. And the list just goes on and on. And you might know the high of obviously the dopamine fueled planning spree, and then also the crash that follows when you don't follow through on those plans.
Exactly. So I guess what we want to kind of talk about is the pressure, the planning, and the pacing. And why do we set ourselves up with basically unrealistic resolutions? I'm sure we'll have plenty to discuss, as well as why do we burn out before January's even over? And what would look like a softer start with more trust in ourselves. So I guess we'll start off with you, ChiChi, kind of like the new year and what that looks like, and the things that you do in preparation of the new year, as an ADHDer.
Sure thing. Happy to answer that. So again, my name is ChiChi. So I've stopped doing resolutions. I don't do resolutions. I just don't. Because it's too much pressure, has been said. And yeah, I can't remember when I stopped doing resolutions. I think I stopped doing them even before I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2022, 2023. So because I would never really follow through. And yeah, it's I know my brain just gets really excited about new things. And even if it's a thing that is not so new, but I've tried in the past, for me, it's around getting to bed. So it's like, this time I'm going to do this. And then it's going to work 7 days a week, even though it has never worked 7 days a week ever, maybe when I was a kid, So I've stopped making resolutions, but even though I don't make resolutions, I still fall into that trap, like I just said, with bedtime, or let's see, that's the big one coming up right now. And also working on stuff for my business. So I'm an entrepreneur, so I have a lot of unstructured time. I do have a part-time day job, but it's in the house. So I have a lot of unstructured time. So I can fall into, okay, I'm going to get this much done. And I don't often, and I'm learning, I don't factor in rest, and I don't factor in time for my brain to just do whatever I want. And my whatever I want is usually watch TV, like watch my shows. Like I was telling my therapist the other day, I act like that's optional. It's not optional. I have to plan for it because if I don't, I just end up procrastinating, doing it, nothing, and just doing the dopamine fueled things like watching my TV versus working on my business. So yeah, I can say more, but I'll stop for now.
We'll go on to Niquelle. How about you?
I have to caveat what I'm about to say with two things. My birthday is New Year's Eve. So
Oh,
it was very ironic, being
Wow.
asked to do this particular episode because my Gregorian calendar marks a new year of life for me. So the pressure of like everyone's New Year's is also for me like coupled with this, what's the next year of my life going to be feeling? So just holding that, but also my understanding of me with ADHD only started last year, October, because I only got diagnosed last October. So there's certain things I didn't know were linked to my ADHD in terms of how I plan, but it now in hindsight, I'm looking at certain things and I'm seeing the correlation. So because of my birthday, I actually start my new year from the end of November in terms of like what's ended and what to bring forward. So my December is usually my like declutter month. So I use this month to kind of take stock of, I'm very reflective in this month and thinking of like what has happened in this year. The wins, the lessons, the kind of gems, but then also thinking about like what would I like to take forward into my next year of like being a person. I personally celebrate my new year in March because I kind of align my annual calendar with the seasons of the year. Everything's in death at this point in the year, so it doesn't make sense for me to try and plant seeds when everything's dying. So I try and tend to use this as to like take stock point. So I'm gathering what seeds did I curate from the year that's passed up till November. And then I think about what seeds do I need to let go. So I use this month to like, I kind of quarterly or at least biannually go through all of my social media and like unfollow, delete, go through my contacts, do all of that. So December is that month where I'm like cutthroat on it and just kind of goodbye, doesn't need, and you don't need to like message anybody. You just let it go and it is what it is. So I do a lot of that in this month, but I also think about the things that kind of brought me joy. I call them my like jam jar moments where you just want to like remember those little things. And I think about how I can duplicate those moments next year. So I have an Excel sheet that is like forecasts my finances in and out for my life. And I put in some things, even if they're not actually work or jobs, because I also work for myself and I have like a portfolio career. So I work for myself, I do some contracted work, and I will literally put in freelance work, creative output. Don't know what it is, but I like will put it in, I will put a price attached to it, like all of those things, and kind of start manifesting ideas of things that I would like to come. So I do all of that in December, usually for the next annual tax year, because obviously January is when we have to pay our previous tax year's taxes and all of that, in the UK at least. And then I will think about what I would, in an ideal world, want my week to look like. So I try and plan in as much rest as possible and calendarize. And that's the only thing I like resolution-y wise. I block my rest and I start thinking about what day is my non-working day that I don't do anything. That's my horizontal day. And I like start thinking of where I'd like that to sit so that I don't start just booking in all my days of the year for the next. Yeah.
That's so interesting because when you talked about like your month kind of starts, or your kind of like moment of reflection starts like in November, and you start kind of like slowly unfollowing unnecessary people, kind of reminded me of something that I kind of like start in November as well. And I think it's also because like after obviously Thanksgiving in the US, you've got the Black Friday sales, and then you've got the Cyber Monday sort of things going on. And that's where you see the clutter of emails that you subscribed to and realize, wait a minute, I'm not taking this into the new year. Let me start unsubscribing stuff that I had from before. And that's where I feel like I've started off, like in November, is that realizing, oh, I've like signed up or like, you know, done this welcome thing to this place and I didn't realize. Let's start unsubscribing. Let's start unfollowing. Let's start doing that. And it just kind of made me think of like, that's something that I start like in there towards the end of November. But I think when I look at the new year, I am a sucker for stationery. I love a notebook. I love a diary. I love a physical. I love a new app that's going to help me with my tasks. You know, I'm literally on TikTok scrolling, oh, new ideas for the new year, what you can do. I'm like, oh, I think my brain can take this. And it would last, at most 6 weeks. 6 weeks. It's to the point where it's like, I think it gets to a point where I forget, or you know, when slowly something just becomes annoying to you. I don't know about like for you guys, me as someone with obviously ADHD, you crave the routine, but you also want the impulsivity. So the moment you found like a structure and a routine, you're like, yeah, I've got this. Then when it feels too rigid, you're just like, what the hell is this? Fuck this shit. I want to do that instead. Or like you completely ignore that alarm that you've been consistent with for the past 6 weeks, where you're just like, oh yeah, it's reminding me to drink water. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. And then eventually you're just like, no, you can't tell me what to do. I don't want to drink water. And then that's where it begins. You start ignoring that alarm, ignore, and then the habit's completely gone. So for me, when somebody's selling, oh, new year, new me, sometimes I'm literally like, I'm the one that's like, say that again, what we got to do? But then also realizing that my brain isn't neurotypical. So it, you know, as much as like I crave the routine and I want the routine, and it's something that I saw, and now I don't know how accurate this information is, but the way our brain is functioned, it's not to the neurotypical. So when people say like it takes 6 weeks to create a habit, it's very different for an ADHD brain. And I think for a long time before diagnosis, I always thought there was something wrong with me, that why can't I stick to this? Why can't I do this consistently? People are able to keep on habits like 6 months down the line, or when I hear people say, yeah, I'm going to do 75 hard. When I think of the list of things that people have for 75 hard, I'm like,
So I'm sorry, what is 75 hard? That's not a term I've heard.
okay, so 75 hard, this is not for everyone to do. This is just something, and my friend happened to have told me. It's where you do, it's kind of like, I think 6 particular tasks that you have to do, and you have to do them every single day. And if you miss one thing from I think the 6 things, you have to start again. So you can be on day 20, and if you've missed one of the things, you basically start again. And the things that the 75 hard include is making sure I think you drink at least like 3 or 4 liters of water, do a workout, indoor workout, and then also an outdoor workout for an hour. So that's 2 sets of workouts. Read 10 pages of a self-help book. And I also think something to do with like eating healthy. The moment they said read 10 pages of a self-help book, I said, yeah, nah, it's not a bit of me. I'm sorry. Can't do it.
It's the exercise that got me. I started laughing immediately.
Too regimented. Way too regimented.
Like, kill me.
And some people get to the end. I've seen friends that have gotten to the end and have told me an amazing testimony. I'm like, wow, amazing. I know the most I can get to is probably day 10. And that's even me pushing and trying. Day 10 is the most. So yeah, all of those different things, you hear all of those things that people start in the new year. Gym, one of them ones. I used to be a sucker for signing up for the gym every single, like in the beginning of the new year. And it will get to a point where I'm paying for the gym and I've probably only been twice. And it will get to like 6-7 months and I've realized, Jules, you've just spent money and did nothing with it. So yeah, those are the kind of things, and I'll hand it over to Gladys because it'll be interesting to hear, you know, because we've all kind of mentioned different things. So be interesting to hear to add.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, I can take from every single conversation that you guys have just spoken about, but even thinking about it earlier today, I was thinking back to when I was at school, and even then resolutions were was quite a big thing. And I think and it was simple, obviously back then, simpler than no bills, do you know what I mean, nothing. And I think my resolution, like the simplest resolution I had then, was I'm not going to bite my nails in January. Do you know what I mean? That was my resolution. Literally, that was it. As simple as that. But similar to what ChiChi said earlier, I've kind of like I kind of don't want to put pressure on myself now. So for me, especially in the last couple of years, it's all been about just going with the flow in a sense, I guess, and just not putting pressure on myself. Do you know what I mean? Putting pressure on myself to do this, putting pressure on myself to say, okay, from January, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to, get a summer body, blah, blah, all that stuff. No, it's not. Whatever happens, happens, basically. So, and like what you said earlier about the gym, I'm guilty of like the whole gym thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's how they make their money.
Honestly,
That's
like,
how they make their money. The gyms are loving it. January discount, half price for the next 6 months, and
no joining fee
no
is their
joining
favorite
fee.
one.
Exactly.
That's how they get you. It's like, no joining
Trust
fee. So
me.
that's an extra £50 I can
Yeah.
like put in my pocket. But then you realize that's how they get you. And then you pay for the first month, then the second month, then you're like,
and you
so I
do
didn't even
direct
save
debit.
the £50.
But that's it. And it's just like, I'll just remember going to the gym for the first week. I don't even know if I got to a week, but I think, week. And then just seeing my direct debit just coming out each month. And then I feel guilty about cancelling the direct debit because I'm like, oh, but I'm going to go to the gym next month. Do you know what I mean? And then by then 6 months has passed and you're like, okay, fine. I haven't been, let me just cut that relationship. So so gym. And also there's another thing that I used to do actually a couple of years ago. I don't know if any of you guys have done it, but there was this thing where if you save £1 and then or is it £1 or starts with a penny or something, and then each day you increase it by a penny or I can't remember if it's £1 or a penny. So I remember starting that as well. I think I got to the half the year and I was like, oh, 50 something, but no, I'm not doing this anymore. It got to like 50 or the 50s. And I was like, no, I'm stopping. I can't afford that every day. So I've had my relationship with New Year's resolutions, and the last few years, especially similar to what Niquelle said, I've only recently got diagnosed with in the beginning of this year, and so that's caused me to reflect on a lot of things. So with the resolution, it's all about, for me now, it's all about just not putting that pressure on myself to kind of do things and complete things and say, why can't I start something in July? Why do I have to wait to January? That's the way I see it now. Why do I have to wait to January? Why can't I start in December? Why can't I start? And that's my kind of mindset. Do you know what I mean? So so that's basically where I'm at with resolutions. And I'm not that organized as well. And Niquelle, I love that you're very organized and everything. I'm an entrepreneur. I'd love some tips. Do you know what I mean? So, but
I mean, even that like organizing thing, for me, that's just my brain dumping.
yeah,
It's not me being super organized. It's like I'm gonna ask those questions of myself, and like it will be excruciatingly interrogating where I have too many unknowns. So I rather just have a thing that helps me like have an idea so
Yeah.
that it kind of acts as a caveat and a bit of a blanket for like safety and security. But it isn't actually like changing anything. It's just me literally trying to dump my thoughts in one structure that allows me to at least like big picture. Okay, when do I need to really be working and pushing, like so that I don't get into that like the grind culture, and I'm avoiding that like the
I
plague at the
love that.
moment.
Yeah,
I love
no,
that. I mean,
it's
it sounded organized to me. I'm sorry, Gladys. Go ahead.
No,
Sounded
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying it sounded really organized, and
it
if
did.
it works
Did.
for you, then brilliant.
Do
You know what I
it.
mean?
Do it.
So what
Do
do you
it.
guys think that the ADHD brain loves the dopamine rush of new planners, habit trackers, notebooks, notepads, do you know what I mean? Color coded things and the highlights. You know, I do like a highlighter, by the way, but yeah. So yeah, what do you guys think?
You say what? Like why the
Why?
ADHD?
Yeah, why do we love the dopamine, the rush of having that kind of notepad, not pen? Do you know what I mean?
It's a very good question. Obviously, the answer is like it gives us dopamine, and I just don't know why it gives me dopamine. Like I love office supplies; they're like candy to me. Like I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. I'm not, and I don't buy a lot of office supplies, but I like to look at them. Like ooh, I find them exciting. So I think my brain and maybe some other ADHD brains, like I love the idea of possibility. Possibility, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do that and I'm going to do this. That's exciting to me. I like knowing about different things, like researching things, like usually late at night. um so like going down rabbit holes. So yeah, I think I'm a big into ideas and possibilities and and newness, novelty. And office supplies, new planners, new apps, it's all about newness and novelty and what it's going to do for me, and I find that very exciting. So yeah, I think, I don't know. So maybe, yeah, what they say about our brains, we like novelty and excitement, and yeah, and all that stuff gives me dopamine. So I look forward to hearing what other people have to say.
Be slightly controversial on that and say that I don't think it's an ADHD thing. I think it's something we're all trained to have as a response from when we're really early children. You have reward systems embedded in like I'm a teacher, so like I'm really also big on like looking at the science behind how our brains respond to things and create behaviors. So I've kind of gone a bit down a rabbit hole on like, is neurotypical a thing or is there a type of brain? And actually, there's a research study I was reading recently by Dr. Pillai. It's Pillai, and they found now that there is actually no scientific foundation for the brain itself. There's no difference. There is no such thing as a typical brain. Every brain is nuanced and everyone's making their own individual neural pathways. But everybody's brain responds to reward systems and kind of having positive reinforcement for getting something done that we think is hard or that we shouldn't, like we have to do. So when we are given like a star or a sticker chart or our character moves up the ladder, like you're getting a praise for it, so you want to do it more. But for us, where our kind of brain chemistry differs is that we feel the emotion so much more intensely. So where we aren't, if we're not getting that reward, the deficit of not getting that is like painful for us. Whereas like a child who maybe doesn't get a clap for making their bed, they're like, well, okay, I didn't get that. But for us, it's like we really need that like praise, so it kind of motivates us to do it again because we're building a habit. But I think that like I look back at all my notebooks, I have highlights and colors and that was for my memory as opposed to for my like actual retention. Like I don't think I was actually making any better notes than the person next to me who maybe wrote 2 sentences, but I needed like certain things in pink, certain things in green to like help my brain absorb things. So I think I collect a lot of like stationary things as well. Everything has like little things poking out of it, but that's for me to earmark, like, so I don't have to rethink the thing. And then I kind of am happy that I can then just open a book to a page and I know what it is or where it is. But I think, yeah, I've started to try and like cheat my brain at the moment where I'm like fooling it to do things. So something that's currently working quite well, I give myself a reward before and after a thing. So like the positive thing before it, which gives me the dopamine, which motivates me more to try and do the thing. So I like say it's like I have to do some work. I have a desk, and sometimes I choose not to work from my desk, like now. And I won't do the task, but I'll tell myself, well, I'll sit in the chair, I'll clear my station, like I'll prepare the area. And by me just sitting, I'm already halfway there, and it's fooled my brain to do half of the thing. And then therefore I'm like, yay, I've done half of it already. That dopamine carries me into, let's open it and do the thing. And then I then have a bigger reward after. So it kind of is sandwiching that positive reinforcement, and that's helping me like fool my brain, because the brain's really actually like quite naive, but we're really like avoidant. Don't tell me what to do, even to our own brains.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I tell myself I should do it, I'm not doing it.
Oh,
If
yeah.
that's the end of it. If it becomes a chore, I must, I should, it's expected, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It has to be like some gamified, or for me to enjoy the task.
So you said so much that, oh my God, I totally love what you said. First, I just wanted to jump in because what you said about that study about the brains, oh my gosh. It's funny because I've had this idea for a while, like, is there anything called neurotypical or not, And then the way I start to see it, it's like maybe so-called neurotypical people are, one, just better at masking, you know, um, and or two, the things they want is more aligned with the things society wants, and so it makes sense. This comes up a lot with me and my siblings, because my siblings, my brothers, particularly my two older brothers, I think that the things they wanted for their life was more aligned with what society, like money, a job, I mean, I want money, but I want it the entrepreneur way, and money, a job, but also entrepreneur. Like, they were able to, they get married, have kids. Like, that's what they wanted, and it aligned. For me, the things I wanted didn't really align with what my society, like Nigerian American Black society, my family. So, in addition to some things, except the one place I was successful is school. Like, I have all these degrees, but not because I'm like, but because school made sense to me. So that worked for me. And so I was good at it. And then I went into the real world and everything and I kind of fell apart. So I love that. And I wonder, about this whole idea of like neurotypical versus neurodivergent, because I know this for so-called ADHD brains. Like, everybody's ADHD brain is different. So so some of ADHD brain advice like does not even work for me. And I already identify as ADHD. So no, I love what you said, Niquelle. And thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting study, which I'm literally gonna read up on a bit later, probably. But for you ladies that have done resolutions and they failed, how did the guilt show up for you guys in relation to the resolution, I guess? For me, let me start. For me, I think it was a sense of failure, and also thinking, because I have to reflect, back to when I didn't have ADHD, or when I didn't realize I had ADHD. And so, not knowing that I have ADHD, I didn't have an understanding of potentially why I failed, or potentially it being an issue. It was just a case of, oh, here's another thing I've failed in January as a resolution. And that's why when I did get diagnosed, I then decided I'm not going to put that pressure on myself anymore going forward. And that's why I don't do resolutions anymore. But how did it show up for you guys? Niquelle, ChiChi. No, Jules, actually. Let's start with you, because we haven't heard from you for a while.
I love that. That was hilarious.
So yeah, that's a really good question, because I think whenever I think about, like, because at some point, similar to what everyone has said, like, I was really like a list person. Like, New Year's Eve, you're writing down your list of things that you want to kind of do in the New Year's. And sometimes I would put the list away and be like, I'm going to be really consistent with it. And then the moment where you feel like, oh, that thing that I was supposed to do, I haven't done it, or I haven't fulfilled that like resolution, or I'm not even kind of working at it, there is a sense of, yeah, rightly said, guilt, failure. And I don't know about you guys, it's and I also think that there's a psychology to it, and a psychotherapy, oh God, I can't even think of the word, a psychoanalytical reason for it outside of just the ADHD, but also it can be linked to trauma and growing up and what your parental household looked like. And, you know, if you didn't succeed at something, what kind of image, or what was then given to, or what was then like said to you as a child. And I feel that that still plays a massive part as an adult, and trying to unlearn that and realize that, you know, not to be so hard on myself. But it definitely is the moment you feel, or the moment I feel like, oh yes, I've not been consistent with it. It's like, oh, that's it. It's the end of the world. It can be so dramatic, where it's just like, I have failed. I'm not going to succeed in life. What have I done? And I also think it's the rejection sensitivity as well. It's like feeling like that particular or that particular resolution has failed me, or it's not even kind of like we've not come together in unison to try and make each other work. And so now it's just kind of like, I can't do it. And I failed at it, and I'm bad. I'm a horrible person. So the whole sort of kind of like, I don't like the language that I have for myself when it feels like I haven't completed something, or I've set something in place. And that's something that I've really learned through therapy, and realizing that, um, because again, you spend the childhood I have, I was parentified. So naturally, you want to make sure that you're fixing everything. And this thing that is on your resolution list, you haven't fixed, or you haven't succeeded at. So you immediately feel like you've just failed. And like I said, it's just kind of just like slowly sort of like changing that way of thinking and being a lot more kinder to myself. There is even kind of like, this is not even a resolution thing, but I was on holiday and I went on my own, solo traveled. I hadn't solo traveled for a few years, and the last time I solo traveled, I didn't know I had ADHD. So it was a lot of masking, so trying to like figure shit out. Now kind of doing it on my own, I was I was heightened by the idea, because obviously I've unmasked, I'm coming as my ADHD self, and I was like, yeah, I don't know how I did this on my own. I don't know how I did it, but I think when I was on the trip, I really took a moment, and because they spoke Portuguese in that country, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to really learn Portuguese, and I wasn't picking it up. I wasn't taking the information in. And I remember sort of like feeling super sad whilst I was on a holiday, like I failed. Um, and having a conversation with my sister and my mum, and saying that you don't need to be so hard on yourself. You have kind of just gone in thinking, because you're here in that moment, that you don't have the opportunity after this to continue to learn the language. And if you just go out there and just kind of experience it, don't take that away from yourself. That the fact that you've gone out on your own, you've done it, and the language stuff will come. But with the brain, sometimes it's just kind of like, yeah, because I can't say this one word properly, I failed. So it is definitely kind of like language that feels negative that I'm slowly trying to change. So yeah, I guess I'll hand it over to you, ChiChi.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jules, for sharing that. I mean, I related to a lot of what you said. I resonated with a lot of what you said. And, I cannot remember when I stopped making resolutions. I don't have great memories of my past or yesterday. So I can't remember, but I can talk about, the feeling I have when I say I'm going to do something and I try to do it and it doesn't, either I don't do it or I don't do it as well as I think I should have, because that's the other one, that perfectionism. And I can feel fear, I can feel shame, I can feel, I feel bad about myself, and depending on where I am with my mental health, it can go from 0 to like I'm never ever going to be able to do this, so I'll never ever be successful, so I'll never ever so what is the point of life? So I can go from 0 to 60 depending on where I am mentally and all of that. So the thing I do though is, so I've had periods in my life when I've been trying to change the language, and I think that works for some people, but I found that for me, it can lead into this toxic positivity thing, or like, I'm happy and everything is happy. And what is working for me is this, it's called internal family systems approach, where I allow all my parts. So for me, like all the voices of shame, doubt, fear, in addition to the voices of joy and all of that. And of course, the shame, doubt, fear is loudest. But instead of trying to like just change it, I just allow it to be, and I listen and hear it out and acknowledge the voices and give it love. And I find that approach works for me really well. And also, I've been practicing disconnecting my self-worth from what I do or don't do, or who, I embrace the idea that I am divinely worthy. I was born that way. We are all divinely worthy. We are all divine, God's source. And that's the idea I embrace. So what I do or don't do has nothing to do with my worth. So I find that it's helpful. When I'm like feeling shame, I listen to the shame, and I do say like, so it's two things. Yes, I feel shame and this is hard. I suck. And so what if I suck? So what? I'm divinely worthy. And I don't suck. So, trying to hold both, because I'm divinely worthy regardless. And I think about babies. I'm like, they come that way. We come that way. Unless a baby is traumatized, like instantly, they come out screaming, take care of me. I don't care. I pooped. Clean it up. Like, they know they're worthy. So I'm just trying to remember that, and that helps me. But, I allow those feelings to come up, and, I acknowledge them. Also because I've come from a lot of numbness and disconnecting from my feelings. It's very uncomfortable. Like, it's not fun. But I found that helps me, like, they acknowledge them and they can relax. So, yeah. So this idea of like, whether I do things or not do things, it's not connected to my worth, helps me. I don't always remember it. It's a practice, but that really helps me, because I think a lot of struggles, we neurodivergent people, well, whoever, we struggle. We all struggle with this idea that if I didn't do this thing, I'm bad or I'm not worthy. And yeah, the two are separate. At least that's what I'm practicing.
Yeah, mine's very, very, very similar to what you were just saying, ChiChi, about the worth. I think one of the things that I've struggled with, even just since childhood, which is a result of two things, like the traumatic experience of growing up as a young Black woman in the UK, like, which we can't ignore, that is a thing that plays into like our sense of self and sense of belonging and sense of value and all of that. But also like how I'm quite hard on myself, because a lot of what I believed initially was what makes us valuable. We're deeply attached to really ideas of like capitalism and output-based outcomes, which I totally don't believe, but I was like kind of in that thought process. So I had, even in like school, it's so grade oriented as opposed to like the joy of learning. And you get into like a structure of really only a number or a value that is kind of tangible is the measure of success, or something that everybody societally agrees is like highly regarded. And like, I think that conditioning, it's really hard to see it when you're like deeply entrenched in your own conditions. But I think I've really worked quite hard with like therapy and loads of different like kind of spiritual systems to think about detachment in a healthy way, and how a lot of the things that we have constructed as like good and bad, someone sat in a room and said this is what it is, and I weren't present in that conversation, but somehow signed that contract, and I didn't sign it. I didn't even opt into the conversation, and I think there's so many rules that are kind of thrust upon us, which then label us and put us in these boxes. And that a lot of the time, those boxes, including even blackness to some degree, has not served me very well, and it's really, for me, like I've created a whole dance solo about this piece, and it's now kind of expanded into a drama piece. But like the word strong, for me, I have a pet peeve with, especially as a Black woman, because actually our idea of strength was deeply entrenched in a very skewed idea of what resilient is, which for them is like take all the shit and just keep bouncing back. But I don't believe that's resilience. And because we know we're going to be judged or shamed or guilted by like responding according to whatever the harm is, our strength has been like to diminish ourselves. And that's taken me a while to really think about, do I actually care about this title or this job role or this? Is that what I care about? Or is it the like value of the thing I'm doing, the people who I'm connecting with? And I really think that's been shifting a lot of things for me in terms of how I kind of navigate shame and guilt, because I think it's meant that like I can just show up as myself and not apologize for it. And that's helped me realize how many layers of myself I've suppressed. Like, there's so much more of me here that hasn't been outward facing. And now in this process of like getting diagnosis and now having capacity to kind of think about supports and stuff, I'm realizing also the people that have seen like Niquelle and the people who've seen like a version that is acceptable by the spaces or places, and they're so far removed from each other that almost now when I'm shifting the way I interact in certain spaces now, and I'm also seeing how much those other people, their expectations are what held me hostage to certain behaviors. And like, I don't care to do that anymore. And it's rubbing them the wrong way because it served their exploitation, essentially. And that's, yeah, it's really interesting to think of the systems that affect our behaviors. And then the behaviors are like just Niquelle-isms. I'm like, okay, that's a me thing. Cool, I'll take that. But yeah, I'm enjoying healthy detachment at the moment, which is helping me. I still feel the shame. They still come up, but I catch the thought. I think about the movie Inside Out a lot, like tons.
Yo, that's one of my favorite animations.
My God, I cried
one of
at
my
that film.
favorite. Me too.
Bro,
I love that film.
That felt so like, that's the thing. Like they are little Niquelle versions in my brain that are like at beef with each other. And right now I'm in like Inside Out 2, where she's like renegotiating her sense of self. And my tree's rebranching with such new nuances that I'm like, who told me these were the rules? Yeah.
No, I love what you said about, okay, your pet peeve with the word strong. I love that because I've literally said, okay, I'm weak. I'm tired. I can't, like, F this. I'm tired of being strong. I'm tired. Whatever. And that goes back to what I was saying about embracing all the words. Okay, I'm lazy. Whatever. I'm still worthy. Like, call me all the names. I am tired because it's too much. I never liked that idea of like, you have to work twice as hard as white people. Okay, I guess I won't get anywhere because I can't. That does not motivate me at all. It doesn't make me, I'm just like, well, okay, I can't do it. So I love that you say that because there's this idea with Black people, Black women, Black non-binary people, like, oh, we have to be strong. We have to take abuse, basically, and no, thank you. I'm good. No, I am not taking abuse. It's not okay for anybody to take abuse, and that includes me. So I love that, what you said about that strong Black woman. And it makes me think of, okay, so Saturday Night Live is this sketch comedy, in the US, but I'm sure you all have heard about it. There was this one years ago, it's on the internet, with Angela Bassett and a whole bunch of beautiful Black women. And it's like a badass bitch meeting, and everybody's all like, oh, all the things I do as a badass bitch, blah, blah, blah. And so there was two things. One of them after a while was like, can I just be an okay bitch? You know, basically, like, it's so much work to be a badass bitch. Can I just be an okay bitch? Like, and so I think about that. And then the other part was towards the end, you see that Angela Bassett is like, they were all upset about people not wanting to be a badass bitch. And Angela Bassett goes to the back room where it shows that they're actually controlling these women and trying to make them into this badass bitch thing. And Angela Bassett is like, maybe we need to increase the medication or increase the whatever, because she's working for the system of like, Black women, you have to be this and this instead of just being authentically who you are. So I just thought about that. And it's like what you said about the systems and patriarchy and, you know, what's that? I forget her name, but she wrote the book, Rest is Resistance, the NAP Ministry.
Trisha
And
Hirty.
yes, thank you. I love her. She is great. And she, you know, she talks about that, how rest is resistance. And what I've been guided to, my inner guidance was telling me to rest. And rest as in my job is to rest, and then work and all that stuff fits into it. And you said that, Niquelle. And that is a very different way of seeing things. But that, I think, makes a lot of sense. And then the last thing I'll say about that, if we go back to how we humans were built before electricity, let's say you wake up at sunrise, let's say 6 a.m. and sunset is 6 p.m. and then it was dark. After 6 p.m., people just chatted, told stories by candlelight, and then they rested till 6 a.m. or whatever. So it's like our bodies are designed to rest, and I'm not saying just sleep, but rest for like 12 plus hours, okay? And if somebody told me they got 12 hours of sleep every night, I'd be like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. But we are designed, so most of us are just walking around, including me, in this fog of like, I got to work, and then we're conditioned because of the patriarchy and capitalism. And I also have internalized capitalism, you know, to make money and this hustle culture, grind culture. And resting seems like a waste of time when rest is the thing. Actually, it's the thing. So just got on my soapbox for a bit. So thank you.
And that's so interesting because it feels like with rest, for not even for the system of rest to work, because obviously individually, like, you know, we want to rest, but there still feels like there's this stigma around just societally that rest, what do you mean rest? Like, no, you rest when you die. I hate that
Yes, I
statement
hate
with
that.
passion. Because what do you mean rest? Like, what? First of all, some people might believe in the afterlife. People might just think you're gone, you're gone. Do you know what I mean? We all have different like frames of what life after death looks like. So for me, like, this is the moment where you should be resting, like, whilst you're alive, so you can enjoy the rest. Do you know what I mean?
Please.
And it just feels kind of like, even when you hear of people saying that, I'm just going to rest, you know, it's just been overwhelming, I'm burnt out. And I don't even know whether, like, this is another conversation I was having, like, I don't know whether it happened post-COVID where empathy's just gone out of the window and people just are kind of like, but no, what about me? I'm dealing with this and I'm da-da-da-da-da. And so the moment when you tell people, no, I'm going to rest, is like, but why are you resting? Why do you get to rest? It's just this, like, until we all collectively understand that rest is a necessity and it's needed, like, a lot of the time where some people are going to be stuck in a mindset of like, resting is one of those things that, you know, it's seen as, what's the word? Is it, you wouldn't say it's seen as a gift, or it's seen as compulsory, like not compulsory,
Like a
right word?
luxury? Do you mean luxury?
Yes, rest is seen as a luxury rather than a necessity. So yeah, just kind of just definitely piggybacking or like it honestly is so frustrating.
Even the idea of like resting being a gift, like we have like, if you're a woman who menstruates, right, we have a monthly cycle that requires us literally to shed part of our organs. That is a huge energy taking thing. That is not in most places considered, even in the structures of most of those systems of how they work. If you took a day off for that pain or those, some people have much heavier, etc.
Mm.
The shame even attached to that,
Yep.
that, you know, there may be fatigue for your body shedding off of its utero. Like it's never been, and there was periods where they literally used to call women like mad because like, and not fit for the workplace because of their natural ways they work. And it is really, I had a really humbling talk that I went to recently with Nova Reid and Belle Ribeiro Addy, who's the like Brixton MP. They did it at Parliament recently, and it was about wellness and burnout culture. And there was a statistic which for me is like absolute incentive to continue the rest cycle that I'm currently on. The average age of a person who does any kind of activism work to die is 45 years old. And if you think about the amount of us that are in those kinds
Wow.
of roles, holding those EDI leads, holding all of those big responsibilities, 45.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It's crazy.
And like
Oh.
stress is the biggest thing that will add to your, like, is a, like, you know when you say like placebo effects of things, your mental state can actually cause your physical state to deteriorate. Stress
It
is one of those
definitely causes it.
things that
Excuse
causes
me.
that.
It
It's like direct
definitely
correlation.
does. Abso-freaking-lutely. Okay.
So if you think about, even for us as people with ADHD, our just social experience of going to work is stressful to transport there because of our sensory stimulation, that the experience of, I'm in London, the experience of the transport system here, I would prefer an Uber. But if I take an Uber, the financial stress of, am I rich? Can I do Uber all year? Then you then get to work confronted with the environment. Is it open plan offices? Is it fixed desks? Is it hot desks? All of these things are unfixed structures that are not considering the needs of maybe routines and embedding those kinds of things. Then you then maybe facing microaggressions in the space, and these other like social norms, people asking how are you, and then walking away, and you're like left like, did you not ask a question? And now you feel embarrassed because you started spilling your whole life out. Like
You're
there's
left
so
in limbo.
many social norms that we're already, to even just start the day, like we've felt guilt 3 times on the way to work. Because
Honestly,
And
it's been an hour.
tiredness. I'm
it's been an
exhausted.
hour. So then when we get to the end of the day, we are tired, like tired. So it's not shocking that there's an increased irritability that we'd maybe have, or there's a heightened way we might be more short on answers or have heightened reactions to things, because our drain level is so much more to have to like keep up with the act of things, that if we really just showed up to work how we'd want to show up to work, you already think to yourself like, oh, this is not going to work, you know. And spaces could accommodate more. Very like, I went to a space once where I hell-bent, like planned ahead, got there, and then conditions out of my control meant my transport was delayed. I was still late, and I was so upset, like, because you know you've done everything in your control. Got there, and this place, I kid you not, was like, oh yeah, never mind, yeah, they started, but you can go to the other room, there's still some food, you can just take some time, and I never had that experience before, walking into like a conferencey kind of environment. But it's because there's pressure being placed on some of these spaces now to consider the diversity of maybe the workforce now. But it's so slow, the progress, to think about it. And like, I think where we think about New Year's, most annual New Year's start on the tax year as well. And I don't think it's coincidental that our financial year is attached to our seasonal years. Like everything grows from spring. And this is the dry up season of the year in every place, where they're trying to just get rid of their money and hand out and tick boxy. And then you see a brand that you're like, they never cared about this thing attached to this brand. And you sign up to it and realize, oh, this is a place that doesn't work for like those kinds of people. Like there's a lot of that is on that cycle. But I think we are working with odds against us in a lot of spaces. And like add on top of that us saying, oh, we're going to commit to a routine now, like it's so hard to stick to it because you're so overstimulated by everything else.
Yeah, so true. And with the rest thing, for me, rest is about your well-being. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's all for me now, especially now with like knowing that I've got ADHD, it's all about ensuring, you take that break. And especially when you are an entrepreneur or you're working, you're studying, and I'm doing all of those things. So rest is a priority. And to know that people think that's a luxury, that's completely crazy. Um, and
Can
Chi-Chi
I
said,
just say,
yeah, go
yeah,
on.
I just wanted to say one more thing. And it's so interesting how conditioned we are, because I don't think anybody walks around saying food is a luxury or water is a luxury. If you don't eat food, you'll die. If you don't drink water, you'll die. If you don't rest and sleep, you will die. So it's like, why do we think rest is a or rest and sleep are luxuries when it's literally you will die? And actually, we live longer without food than without rest.
Yeah,
It's like oxygen, water, I think rest, then food. Okay? You will die.
in that order.
Yeah. Yeah, like that is a form of torture. Like sleep deprivation is literally a form of torture. So it's so like, why? And I do that too. So the thought I literally just had, it's like, instead of thinking, what am I going to do today? What I'm going to do? Where am I going to rest today? Where am I going to rest today? Because I constantly forget. And this is affecting so-called neurotypical people, because it's not just everybody's irritable. Everybody's losing empathy. Everybody's stressed. And what you said, Niquelle, about the mental stress, like I said, it absolutely is. And I've seen that in my own life. There's all this idea like it's what we eat and all these things. Yes, but it's stress. That is the biggest factor to lowered health outcomes. And there's research showing this, but we don't hear about that. But it's with lowered health outcomes, age, like people dying earlier than they should, like men dying more, like cisgender men or whatever, like assigned males at birth dying faster than women, because they're not allowed to deal with their stress in ways women are allowed to. Like they're not conditioned to cry or whatever. So men die faster, like earlier. So it's like, it's all connected, and rest and de-stressing is really, 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 really important. Like it's more important than food, actually. But it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, so true. Um, and Chi-Chi, you said something earlier regarding not using the word resolution as part of because I feel like that does in itself, especially with years of experience and as you age, that puts a lot of pressure on
Hmm.
you in itself, using that particular word. And so I'm all about like finding softer approaches to January, softer alternatives to resolutions. Like I said earlier, why start in January? Why not start in your gym membership in the summer or in September, October, or whenever you
Yeah,
feel like it, whenever you're comfortable,
exactly.
basically, rather than being why does it have to be that January the 1st? Do you know what I mean? And I think that is coming from as well a lot of maybe culture, maybe our upbringing, maybe, obviously the television, adverts, all this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, so I'm all about kind of introducing micro resolutions, breaking goals into maybe smaller and flexible actions that even if you don't potentially get to the end of the week, you're not going to feel so much shame or so much guilt. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, or even
I actually,
experimenting. Yeah, go on,
sorry.
Chi-Chi.
No, I actually want to say something about the gym thing. When you said, starting your gym membership in January, or I mean in the summer or whatever, or not even having a gym membership, like this idea of
Yeah.
joyful movement, maybe dance a class is better. Maybe, you're a walk person. But I do want to say something that helps me. I don't know whether Orange Theory is in the UK. It might be, but it's technically it's a gym, but it's classes. And I don't know whether they know this, but they designed it for ADHD brains, at least my ADHD brain. So I think I need to just say it because, yeah, you pay like a monthly fee, but it's classes. So it's not like, and for me, the discrete, like hour-long class is so much on a day that is scheduled and is going to be with a bunch of people. and there's a coach, but the coach is not just for you, it's for everybody. And again, it's like, it could be overstimulating, but for me, it's like, it's so hard, but the music is constantly changing. The work is like, I can't even think about how hard it is. So my brain is engaged and I'm constantly moving, and then it's over. And I don't have to come back until next week or the next class, which is 2 days, So I do the middle one where you get 8 classes a month. So 2 classes a week, but I don't always do classes a week. I may just do 1, but it's like, I did something. That's it. And it helps me. I need that discrete, like, beginning and end that's already scheduled, and it's with other people. So I'm not like, I don't know what to do. I'm stupid. I feel stupid in the gym, and it includes everything: weights, cardio, and stretching, include all that shit. So then I'm done. So I just wanted to say, shout out to Orange Theory. Maybe one day I'll get them to sponsor me, but I found it to be very, very friendly for my brain. I know some of us don't like to do group stuff, so obviously it's not for every neurodivergent person, but for people that are social, and it's been amazing. And I'm not a gym person. I hate working out. I hate all of that stuff, but it's fun to go there and and sweat and sweat. And so I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm amazing. All right. Okay. Oh, and then there's a heart rate monitor, which colors and stuff. So it kind of adds that gamifying aspect for people that like that. So yes, you see all the other colors for other people, but really I'm competing with myself. So it's like, oh my God. Or I can compete with the person next to me in my head. It's fun. So anyway.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And well, I don't know if they have it in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's in the UK,
maybe.
but it's definitely all over the US.
Yeah.
Orange Theory. So check it
No,
out.
yeah, you can. It's not the same, like the brand of Orange Theory, but you can get, even for most gym memberships, if you call, they don't necessarily always advertise it, but you can get class only packages.
See?
It's probably cheaper.
It's probably
It
cheaper.
is way cheaper.
That's why they don't advertise it, I'm sure.
100%.
Yeah. And it's scheduled in advance, so it takes the weight off of oh my God, when am I going to go to the gym? This what's the idea? Where it's so broad that I can't do anything. But it's no, it's happening Wednesday at 12 noon. I did it. I'm done.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, I might look that up actually. But yeah, no, it sounds really good. And I think that's it. We just need to maybe reframe how we think about resolutions and kind of, like I said, yeah, rather than I must do this forever or I must do this by, the end of the whatever month or whatever, or I must get a summer body by my holiday do you know what I mean? Just, let's try to do this rather than we must do this kind of thing. And just, yeah, it's just about retraining ourselves and thinking about how we start the new year differently. And why can't we start the new year at different points in the year? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so it takes the pressure off us and yeah, our plans, I guess.
So kind of going back off what you said, kind of instead of looking at the big sort of grand gestures of resolutions, maybe we start like you said, implementing those micro resolutions, and even kind of like we've all sort of like similarly said, changing the word resolution so there's not the added pressure because of the language to think that, okay, there has to be a solution at the end of it because of that particular word. And kind of just hopefully that helping kind of take the pressure off. And I guess what we can think about and what we've kind of spoken about briefly is looking at some New Year reflections that you can kind of sit with. So what's one thing I can do this week that feels supportive instead of punishing? Where can I swap shame for curiosity? And if I treated my brain like a partner instead of an enemy, what would I let it do differently? And that's so interesting because something, a language, not even a language, but a statement that my therapist always says to me is that, would I say that to the way I speak to myself in a negative way, would I say that to a close friend or a loved one? So I know I won't, because it's just not innate in me. So why would I then say it to myself? It's kind of just like, looking at treating kind of like 2016 or 2020. I keep saying 2016. 2016 has passed. 2026. 2026. Looking at 2026 and just kind of just not looking at it as like, do you know what? Whatever this year has to offer me, I'm going to embrace it. And if, do you know what, that particular thing that I thought I was going to get through, I didn't get through, it's okay. So like, just kind of just sitting with those things and reflecting, and just kind of just like going into like the new year, just like you said, Gladys, softer and just being a lot more kinder. I know something for me is that continuing on the road to changing the language that I have, when I speak to myself, when I feel like I'm putting that pressure on having to complete something or do a task. I know that sometimes I have to, like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I talk to myself, I'm like, Jules, man, chill, like, relax. And sometimes I have to say it out loud for my brain to register that I'm saying relax. So it just gives me a moment to be like, okay, that doesn't need to be done. I don't need to deal with that. That I can come back to that tomorrow. If I don't decide to come back to that tomorrow, that is also equally okay. So yeah, I guess we can kind of just like wrap up on like final thoughts in 2026 and, not even kind of like resolutions. I guess something that I think Gladys was about to mention is kind of like experiments over commitments. So I guess it's just like, what do you want to experiment with in 2026, where you're kind of just like, do you know what, that's something new. And I'm going to look at it for whether it be January start, whether it be March, whether it be even in the summer or 6 months in, what are we looking at experimental wise? I'll start with you, Niquelle.
It's a good question. I think using the start of this next year, I'm big on numerology, so it's a 10-year next year. So you add up all the numbers. So 2026 is 2, 2, and the 6 is a 10. A 10 is a 1, which is manifestation, which means there's a lot of new things that will sprout in next year, basically. This year was like a career-based year. So if that's the year you had, that's where. I think setting intentions as opposed to like finite decisions and finite endpoints. Like an intent doesn't have to be with a deadline necessarily, but knowing it serves a purpose. So kind of figuring out what are the most important things I want to be intentional about next year, and setting some of those intentions, and not like a super long list either, like being really quite small with how many intentions you set, because they're going to evolve. I'm damn sure they will evolve, but like allowing yourself like some review points to check back in with it. I think that, yeah, intention setting sounds like a nice thing to do for the next year.
You,
I love
ChiChi?
that. I love that. Thanks, Niquelle. And we'll have to have an offline discussion about numerology. So yeah, so I'm so glad you brought that up. For me, there's no 2026, it's today, because I can't, in true ADHD fashion, what am I will forget. So I'm doing it like I already started doing this. Because I can't remember what I was doing. I can't, whatever. So what I have started doing, I mentioned it earlier, this idea of how am I going to rest today versus where am I going to work? What am I going to do? Like, how am I going to rest today? Where am I going to rest today? And then the other thing is something that my energy healer said, and I really like this reframe. When I think of whatever it is, I wasn't consistent, or like I hurt my wrist or whatever, it's like, how is this happening to assist me? Like the idea that the universe, God source, is always supporting me and assisting me. So it's like, how is this happening to assist me? So for example, I hurt my wrist, and I think how it's happening to assist me is to remind me to slow down and to stop banging my body around. Like, some of it is always going to happen. I'm dyspraxic, clumsy, whatever. But just try to move a little bit slower and stop like twisting myself and pushing my body, trying to be more gentle with my body. Because I twisted my ankle, same kind of thing. And sometimes when I have this, when I'm like, oh my God, I was trying to go to bed and I didn't, or I suck or blah, 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 how I can think of it's happening to assist me, it's pulling me deeper and deeper into, grounding me deeper and deeper into trust and safety, that it's okay. Like, my worth is not connected to whether I went to bed or not, or whether I did the thing consistently or not. It's like that reminder. It's reminding me of, okay, it's okay. I'm not broken. It's just assisting me, helping me remember I'm worthy regardless. So I think those two reframes are helping me, and I'm starting them today. And I think I started that the other one, the assisting me, like last week or whenever my energy healer said it. So I want to think about that. There's a lot of concrete tasks I want to accomplish in 2026, but I'm deliberately not saying that right now because I think the mindset, the reframe is way, way more important, because that's very supportive of me and loving of me. So thanks.
And you, Gladys, as well?
Something that Niquelle said earlier about having this person now and the person that everybody else remembers. And that's literally me right now. And next year, or going forward, to walk in that person. Be soft on that person, love that person. Do you know what I mean? And if the people that didn't remembers the old me, the before ADHD person, good luck to them. But just be kinder to myself. Still set goals. I'm not saying I'm not going to set any goals, but even if I don't achieve those goals, not to see it as a failure, but see it as maybe that wasn't for me. Maybe there's another opportunity somewhere else that maybe I need to tap into. So it's just about being softer on myself, walking in my purpose, walking in who I am now, with a better understanding of who I am as an ADHD woman, and still setting goals, but not being stringent, not being rigid, and not putting myself in a box and putting things in a box and saying if do you know what I mean, this has to be like this. No, just take it easy and be soft. No lists, no big lists, none of that. Just chill and be happy and have that rest. Scheduling that rest. Rest is not a luxury. It's a right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I echo everything what everyone has said. Like, honestly, like the intentions of it, rather than seeing it kind of like as a resolution, kind of like the intentions of being soft with ourselves and just being kinder and just going in, I'm just going to go in with the mindset, like you said, resting. And I guess if you are listening to this and already feeling like you failed in 2025, 2026 because you haven't smashed all your goals yet, this is also a moment to take a breath. You haven't failed. You're experimenting, going back to that lovely word, you are experimenting and you are learning what works for your unique brain. The new year doesn't need to be a new you. I think it needs to, and this is something that I would like to think it's not a new you. It's just you continuing on that journey, on that path of being your authentic self and just coming and being kinder and being softer to yourself, if that makes sense. So you're continuing the need to be kinder to yourself every year that comes by. So yeah.
I love that. Yep.
Yeah, no, that was perfect, really. And I guess thank you, ChiChi, Niquelle, Julez, for like the chat today. It's really been great to speak to you and to speak on this topic, and learn more. And is there anything that you ladies would like to share about what you're doing, what you have coming up, who you are, where people can find you? We'll start with you, ChiChi.
Yes, sure. You can find me on my website, ChiChiKeynoteConcerts.com or ChiChiEnu. It goes to the same place. So ChiChiEnu.com and or ChiChiKeynoteConcerts.com, and on YouTube at ChiChiEnu, and on TikTok at ChiChiEnu. And 2026, to speak of goals, is the year that I am fully launching my career as a keynote inspirational speaker, opera singer. So I have some events coming up, and the plan for right now is March 28 in Maryland, to do a keynote concert, and that's one. And actually, no, it's DC. I'm sorry, it's DC. And I'm hoping to do another one in the New York area in January or February. So yeah, but yeah, ChiChiEnu, ChiChiKeynoteConcerts.com, and hopefully more will be revealed. But either way, I'm gonna rest and remember, like, everything is happening to support me. Thank you.
For me, so Niquelle, you can find me pretty much. My @ is the same on every platform. So Niquelle L, and it's NIQUELLE_L. That's my @ on Instagram, X, TikTok. I don't really use as much, but I have a TikTok, so I'm gonna try and use it a bit more next year. I'm most active on Instagram, so if you want to kind of connect more personally, but also if you kind of want to know more about the producing, education kind of work and the arts work that I do, everything's on my website. So it's Niquelle Latouche Arts. If you type in Niquelle, it will come up on the website, just on any search engine. Next year, I intend to be doing some R&D with particularly people with ADHD, ideally Black women. So there'll be an open call at some point soon to think about some poetic responses to our lived experience, because I have a poetry piece called Intrusive Thoughts, which I'm now building into a solo piece that I created, Negate. So fleshing that out into a group piece of theatre. Aside from that, it's Motherland, which is my company's work, which is women of the African diaspora, where we've ended up and where we've gone, and celebrating all our nuances, gestures, see people who've migrated everywhere and still manifest more versions of ourselves. So yeah, that's me. Yay.
And me, I'm not on social media, so.
You're so funny.
I'm not.
You're hiding.
Sound like that.
That's fine. That's fine. Me, I advocate for survivors of domestic violence and narcissistic abuse, and my business is called Strength of a Queen. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Strength of a Queen 2, and I have a website, www.strengthofaqueen.org. So feel free to reach out if you need support or anything like that. And yeah, thank you. And to our listeners as well, if you found a sense of home here, listening to us at ADHD Babes, consider supporting us. That could mean signing up as a member on our website, or donating, or even just sharing this podcast with people that you know it can help. Every bit of support helps us do and continue this beautiful work. And yeah, thank you so much.
Also join the conversation on our Discord or our WhatsApp group for members. Follow us on socials. We're at ADHD Babes. We are, of course, on YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube for the video version of this podcast. And most importantly, stay connected. We are building this together. Thanks for listening, and see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of ADHD Babes, the podcast. If you're a Black woman or non-binary person and need help and support in managing your ADHD or advice on diagnosis, please visit ADHDBabes.com. No clinical diagnosis is required to join. Join us in 2 weeks for a new episode. Until then, all the love from the ADHD Babes team.
Just as I am, can you take me just as I am?